It all started with a box. This box was no ordinary box. Don't be misled by its ordinary wooden structure and Hebrew engravings. This box spoke to people it found fascinating. Just like this woman who often heard it whisper, "I will eat your soul." But she dared not touch it and often resorted to music to drown out the constant raspy chatter of the box. The box constantly stressed her, leading to physiological changes like extreme hair loss. Or was it the box's doing? She couldn't tell. But one thing for certain, she had had enough of the creepy threats. So one day she carries a hammer, and after securely putting away her fancy vase, she is ready to beat the hell out of the box. But as she's about to strike it, the box starts whispering, and suddenly her body starts experiencing G-force without a security harness, sending her flying in all directions. Later, her son finds her with every bone in her body broken. Meanwhile, we're introduced to the university basketball coach, Clyde, and his ex-wife Stephanie, who share a bittersweet relationship after their divorce. Clyde often picks up his girls, Emily, or Em as her family calls her, and Hannah over the weekend, while Stephanie spends time with her new sweetheart, Brett. The girls are in for a surprise when they find Clyde has bought a new home near the woods. Like a loving dad, he spoils his girls with pizza parties and tries his best to make them feel at home. However, his relationship with Stephanie remains a sour topic that comes up often because Em has still not accepted that her parents are no longer together. But at the end of the day, Clyde finds ways to cheer up Em. The next day, Clyde is driving the girls in the neighborhood when they spot a yard sale, and they stop to buy some things. Em is immediately attracted to the same wooden box that left the woman covered in bandages after her unsuccessful attempt at making the box shut up. Upon Em's persuasion, Clyde buys the box, and while Em is walking back to the car carrying the box, she looks into the window of the woman's house and spots the woman wrapped in bandages. But as soon as the woman notices Em carrying the box, she starts screaming hysterically, making Em run away. Once back home, Em asks Clyde to open the box, but it seems to be a Herculean task, for the box is built without any seams. Clyde is saved from the trouble by a phone call, leaving Em disappointed. That night, Em is woken up by the box's whisper, and as she fiddles with the box, she is able to open it. Inside, she finds a dead moth, a ring she immediately wears, a carved wooden toy, and a tooth. A smile spreads on her face as these things are nothing less than a treasure for her. The next morning, everyone wakes up to Hannah's screams. Clyde and Em rush to her room to find a giant moth on Hannah's bed. Clyde immediately smacks it dead, making Hannah and Em walk out in disgust. The weekend is over and Clyde takes the girls back to Stephanie, who for some reason doesn't miss a chance to point out all the qualities Clyde lacks as opposed to her new boyfriend, who makes his presence known by participating in the chores. Looking at them eating breakfast like a happy family makes Clyde wonder where things went wrong for him. In the coming days, Em starts feeling different, affecting her behavior. She wouldn't listen to her dad calling her name and would often sit staring at her reflection in the mirror inside the box. Things take a turn for the worse when she stabs Clyde's hand with a fork after he asks her to eat slowly at the breakfast table. Things don't stop there, and Em becomes possessive about the box. Clyde decides to investigate the box in Em's absence and finds its contents disturbing. Em can feel another presence inside her body trying to escape. One day, alone in the bathroom, she suddenly starts feeling sick. Feeling something crawling inside her, she takes a flashlight and what she sees next horrifies her. 2 fingers stick out of her throat, but the next second they are gone. She struggles to understand what is happening to her. It is not just Em's body, but her behavior also turns more disturbing and violent when one day Em has a freak-out episode in class, and she attacks a boy just because the boy mischievously took her bag and found the box. This results in Clyde and Stephanie being called into the school to meet the teacher and the principal. They are concerned that Em has become a little too possessive about the box, so they have decided to confiscate the box. The teacher is wrapping up for the day that evening when she hears the same whispering from the box. When she tries to open it, the box takes offense and hurls her around the classroom before throwing her out of the window, thus eliminating her. However, Em acts oblivious to the gravity of the situation, even as Clyde tries to talk to her about it. Em reveals that a woman who lives in the box is her friend, but when Clyde shows interest in meeting her, Em says nobody can see her. Concerned for his daughter, Clyde brings the box from school and dumps it in a dumpster. Em realizes Clyde did something to the box, and once he reaches home, Em, not herself anymore, demands to know where he took the box. But when Clyde doesn't budge, Em becomes manipulative and resurfaces Clyde's fears by reminding him she doesn't love him. and neither does her mom. She compares Clyde with her mother's new boyfriend and says he does nice things for her, something Clyde never bothered to do. Suddenly, Em starts freaking out and makes it seem as if Clyde is hitting her, which Hannah witnesses. Em runs out of the house wailing and Clyde follows. She soon finds the box in the dumpster, but this time, when the box opens, the malevolent force takes full control of Em and she ends up losing consciousness. Clyde soon finds her and carries her back, but is met by the police and Stephanie, who looks deeply disappointed by his behavior. Clyde is soon slapped with a restraining order. But Clyde is far from giving up on his family and brings the box to a university professor, an expert in history and artifacts, for answers. The professor tells him that the woodwork indicates it's from Poland and originated in a Jewish village dating back to the 1920s and 30s, as indicated by the Hebrew inscriptions. He concludes it's a dybbuk box. The word dybbuk means a dislocated spirit, and the box is believed to trap these malevolent spirits or the devil himself. Realizing Em might be in danger, Clyde immerses in educating himself on the Jewish exorcism, and after watching some alarming videos, he decides to act quickly. Clyde finds an opportunity to get into the house in Stephanie's absence. He reaches Em's room with a tonic and reads out Psalm 91, until the dark force throws the tonic across the room. But before Clyde can do anything, Stephanie arrives and yells at him to get out. Clyde realizes what he's dealing with and decides to get help. He travels to a Hasidic community in Brooklyn to find Zadok Shapir, who takes him to his father, the rabbi. Zadok takes Clyde to the shul, where the other members immediately leave out of fear of the box. Some remain to answer Clyde's questions. One of them explains that the dybbuk looks for innocent souls as its host. Once the dybbuk attaches itself to the host begins to hear voices and experience visions to drive the others away from the host. At the final stage, the dybbuk attaches to the host, feeding upon the soul to become one with the host and finally have one thing it lacks: life. Clyde finally understands how dangerous the situation has become for his daughter and pleads with them to show him how to fight it. The rabbi tells him the only way to fight this dark energy is by commanding it back into the box by its name. Seeing no one willing to take the chance, Clyde breaks down and pleads with them to help save his daughter. But he is further disappointed by the rabbi's words, who suggests he leave the fate of his child to the will of God. Clyde soon leaves to find help somewhere else when Zadok follows him out and tells him he is coming along. He cannot just sit by and do nothing when a human life is in danger. While returning, Zadok analyzes the box, and after breaking the mirror, he finds the inscription, Abizu, or the Taker of Children, which they believe is the evil spirit's name. Meanwhile, Stephanie gets a glimpse of what Clyde had been trying to tell her when the evil force takes control of Em and injures Stephanie. Em somehow manages to overpower the force and in desperation asks her mom who she is, as she doesn't recognize herself anymore. Stephanie's boyfriend Brett suggests they take Em to a psychiatrist and Stephanie agrees. However, the following day, Brett flees after the evil force makes his teeth fall out, leaving Em convulsing on the floor. Stephanie rushes her daughter to the ER while Hannah calls Clyde to tell him what happened. She saw a moth coming out of Em's mouth, making her believe that whatever her sister is struggling with is beyond medical science. The doctors perform an MRI and are shocked to find the dybbuk's face near Em's heart. Clyde and Zadok soon arrive, and Stephanie, still looking pale, tells Clyde what they saw. Clyde realizes they don't have much time and tells Zadok they must perform the exorcism in the hospital. Since they need more space and can't risk staff finding out what they're about to do, Clyde takes them to a physical therapy room where he would often bring his players. Zadok asks the family to put something dear to them in the box, as its essence will help them bind the prayer. They soon start the exorcism, and chaos ensues because Abizu does everything in its power to stop them from casting it out. Em lashes at Zadok and almost wrings the life out of him, but Clyde interferes and demands that Abizu take him instead. Em lets out a blood-curdling scream before running into the morgue. Clyde rushes after her and gets into a physical altercation with Em, who Abizu now controls. He constantly pleads with Abizu to take him and leave his daughter alone. When Stephanie, Hannah, and Zadok find them, Em's conscience seems to have returned, and the family hugs each other, relieved the evil entity is finally gone. But it all seems a little too peaceful to be over just like that, and Zadok speculates something must have happened. He starts calling Abizu's name repeatedly, and just as he had suspected, Abizu wasn't done with them. It had latched itself onto Clyde, who loses control over his body. Zadok acts fast and starts the exorcism. He calls for Abizu, who soon shows itself after it crawls out of Clyde's mouth, a horrific pale gray creature that reeks of death. Zadok doesn't give up and demands the creature to return in the name of God, and with its name being called, Abizu is bound by the word. With no choice left, Abizu crawls into the box and everything comes to a halt as the peace is restored once again after a successful exorcism. Abizu is finally where it belongs, back in the dybbuk box. Zadok covers the dybbuk box with a cloth and recovers the ring that has lost its shine. Meanwhile, the family embraces each other, relieved they are finally out of danger. Things get back to normal, and Stephanie and Clyde make an effort to rekindle their relationship and become one happy family again. Meanwhile, Zadok takes the dybbuk box and is driving back home when he gets a call from Clyde thanking him for saving his family. Zadok had barely driven a few miles when suddenly his car is hit by a speeding truck. A passerby rushes to save Zadok, but it's too late for him. While the wretched dybbuk box lies a few feet away in the street whispering, a chilling reminder that Abizu's presence lingers as long as the box survives. That's a recap for today's horror dose of The Possession. If you're a fan of horror movies, then make sure you subscribe to Recaps of Fear for extra protection against evil, and hit the notification bell for your next horror movie recap adventure.